together, and Toulon are a problem in France, but they're no longer a problem in Europe.
Indeed.
And that is thanks to Edinburgh.
Indeed.
We're going to pivot to now, because my God, we build them up a lot on the last podcast, and rightly so, because we've just been that impressed with them this year, because there's a lot of Pro 14 teams that aren't making the grade in Europe, and it's always like the pre-Christmas games are a good way to just get a sense of that, because obviously a lot of league stuff happens before and you get these ideas about teams, but Edinburgh are one that have just quietly built. They did a big job.
I like the way they get through games as well. There's no, like, it's different from a lot of other teams. There's no, in some cases there's no urgency to get a try, which can have its issues. I mean, they're taking 3-pointers. They had a lot of possession and territory versus what Toulon had in that first half, and yet they were behind at half time, with a missed penalty kick in there as well. And perhaps there isn't that ruthlessness to go for the throat where it should be, but what they are is very comfortable. Like, they're very good at setting again and going again. They're as you say, they are quite process driven, but they're also very, very calm and very composed, and they see the game as an 80-minute exercise, not made up perhaps of the little moments. Although it was a little moment that eventually saw them over the line, but a moment that was perhaps coming in a lot of ways. But Toulon were making a break, and Gorgodze knocked it on.
No, he threw an intercept, didn't he? That was
Gorgodze dropped it. He was clean through, and he dropped the ball, and it was picked up, and away they went. And then Bill Mata did a magnificent offload. I mean, there's no putting it into words.
Around for sure in our eyes, because it was fantastic, and even the gather was great as well. It was like, and
a great line from Johnson, who was very good himself.
There was we had a commentator earlier on the last video just making the point that there's injury problems, because we did do a big segment on Edinburgh, but we didn't actually address that their main centre pairing, which is like a trusted Scottish centre pairing.
Well, Mark Bennett certainly is, but he's been gone now for a while. He's been off and on injured for a long time. I mean, Dean and Johnston have been settled now there for a good few months, and they're very, very solid. The pair of them.
They're doing
both in attack and defence.
Yeah, which is kind of what you want to see in the modern centre more and more. There's fewer opportunities, it feels like, for centres to be grabbing tries and being the highlight reel. As like in an ideal performance, you want your wingers getting on the end of it, but defensively, it's obviously always been centres have to tackle, but just the reads you have to make at the modern pace of game, like, it's creating a kind of lovely kind of young virile athlete that can cover space quite a lot, but also tackle very well. And I really like the balance in the Edinburgh pairing at the moment, because it allows, like we were talking about it last week, like their backline is definitely a bit more functional, function driven, but it's like they still recognise how to score tries. They can see space, and like they did, like we were kind of fearful, or certainly I was. I don't know if I articulated this last week, but like Edinburgh as a club, like I remember years gone by, that just the culture that's in there, I feel like, similar to what we talk about Munster. If they're rattled in a game, they could probably just fall into the tight too often. Even if they're losing those exchanges, it feels like that's their comfort zone, where their backline is there to do the job once the packs do it. But they didn't do that.
I would say that remains the case, though. Their pack stood up in the sense that they, like, other than those 2 tries, they did, generally speaking, win the contacts. But where the tries was out wide, and they were good at noticing that. It also can't be overstated how important Bill Mata is to that team. He's just that extra spark that's beyond functionality. He's he's a super pro. He makes his tackles. You saw that in the game against France for Fiji, how professional he can be defensively, and how much those Fijian boys are coming on in that department is huge.
True.
But then in the loose, like, he's always looking for the options. He's always electric and dynamic.
He reminds me, in terms of his role for this team, it's similar to what we were highlighting about Nakarawa in that team, for that Glasgow team that won the Pro 14 a few years ago. He's the same kind of, because the whole team is going to be set up with that kind of function driven thing in mind. We were talking about how Cockrell's the right man for that Edinburgh club, because they've always had a gritty nature to them. Even in losing efforts, they make it very physical. And normally injure 1 or 2 of the players that are coming there as well. We have had experiences of that as Leinster fans before. Murrayfield is still not an enjoyable trip for anyone, and that feels like it's such a part of their culture that, like, shouldn't be lost, and everyone should be on that wavelength. But having someone like that with X factor to just break things up and make, like, as much as you can allow for all those moments, if your team is just that, you end up being what Edinburgh were in years gone by, which was just ultimately a losing team with quite a negative outlook and quite hard to love from an outside looking in point of view, because they do make games dirty, make it their tempo a lot of the time. Murrayfield is cold a lot of the time, so it's just like but with a player like Mata in there in that pack, it just gets everyone else thinking about the offload a bit more.
Exactly.
So they're more adept at catching them.
It makes use of guys like the two centres and who can run lines.
Yes.
And they're very good. They have a good eye for a line, but someone needs to make the pass happen.
Yeah.
And very often, a lot of the time, Bill Matt is that guy.
Yeah.
So he's the one guy that they really couldn't afford to lose.
True.
If they want to compete, and it's gonna remain to be seen what happens when that very good functional Scottish pack gets put under a bit of pressure. Can they make something happen out wide? If it does turn out that they're playing Munster in the quarterfinals, even if they're at home, can they make that Munster team pay, or are they going to be just outdone at what they do?
Which is the danger. When a team that's that focused on being physical, that when they meet someone more physical, like the same but slightly more, and try and play you at that game as well. So it's not about you bringing a team to that place. The team that are coming are already in that place, and it comes down to who's better on the day then, and that can be a scary thought for a team that way.
As much as I like Jakob van der Walt, it's yet to be seen whether he has it in him to dictate a game, to really peg those corners back and to actually lead like a 10, which is something again that Edinburgh are going to need if going forward.
For sure.
The next hurdle for them is the Montpellier game this weekend. Now Montpellier are an enigma in my mind in the sense that they're like Kroon again. I can't find information on him. I assume he must be injured because he hasn't played the last few weeks. Nadolo, he's in the team, he's out of the team. Who knows? Surfentime was on the bench last week. It was a weakened team that played last week with Immelman on the wings, but they were still very physical, and Piquemont still played.
Well, they were still more than a match for Newcastle, which is put to bed any of their aspirations for the year.
The home final
and all that it was. But there were
Toby Flood leading them to glory, not getting
looking
by
frustrated at intercepts and drop balls, but
he got sat down properly at one point by one of the Montpellier lads as well.
That was the theme of the day. Louis Piquemont was man of the match, which in my mind kind of summarises the kind of game that it was, because when Louis Piquemont is in that form, it usually means that the whole pack is just rampaging and he's getting a load of class carries as well, and that Newcastle weren't at the races
exactly,
not at all. But
stylistically speaking, it's definitely a step up from Toulon. Well, it's probably a step up from Toulon in the sense that they could be as bad as Toulon can be away from home. They haven't got a good away record this year,
or in years gone by.
Is right. What they do have are big names who they could potentially throw in that could make it interesting. But what Edinburgh have stylistically is a very similar kind of team. They're going to try and do a very similar kind of thing. It is going to be a physical challenge for them up front. They are going to have to move the ball out wide, and so it's important probably for them that they do win it. If they don't, it'll possibly knock Glasgow out, and more than that, leave them very in the lurch in terms
away from home, which is like they want the Murrayfield factor there. As much as they're a great side and they're an improved side, and it's great to challenge yourself, and things like going to France and winning is an important thing, which they've done now. No need to make yourself have to do it again
in the quarterfinals. It's a mistake. It probably would end their chances of getting a semi-final, which is what they probably want out of this cup. At least anything beyond that would be gravy
for sure. But once they're in a semi-final, they know they can win a game, and that'll be the message as well. This is it. So it's navigating their way there, and that's why this can't be overlooked. We've already got a small cue beside our name. Don't worry about it. I don't think it will.
If they do win this game, it'll be just a great indicator of where the team are at, just in terms of their mentality and their versatility and their maturity, I would say, as a team under Richard Cockrell, because they had that doubleheader against Glasgow, which are a team would like to move the ball a lot. They have most of Scotland's backline. Their danger men are Hogg and Seymour and Will Grigg and all these guys, or Nick Grigg, and all of these guys in the back line, and then you have to pivot from doing that, which they did very effectively, out-muscled them and went through the middle, to facing teams who can perhaps be the match of them up front and moving outside and attacking them where they're weak, which is probably in those wide channels. And that's again what you're going to have to look from them early doors against Montpellier, like sort of exiting on the feet, getting that offload game going, moving from side of the pitch to side of the pitch, because that's what you want from those Montpellier forwards, to have to move across and move back and move across, because they will tire.
They will,
especially away.
Especially if you keep the ball long enough. If they resource the rucks properly and keep the ball long enough, they can make them make tackles for a long time and just tire them out. Like you're saying, make sure you're putting air on the ball. 2 passes, 3 passes, then resource the ruck, and you can go again and again, and that's a good way to get out. And it's just it'll show a nice maturity if they want to play that way. Whereas if they're kicking box kicks every time they're in their own half and not winning the aerial collisions necessarily, but if the result of those box kicks, which can be the case, is either a counter-attack try or a huge defensive set that you now have to put through, and you have to be...
And that's the kind of thing that gets Pick'em and the boys quite happy and
pleased. They love playing. They'll be warmed up into the game if that happens in the first half. And even if it doesn't come, a try doesn't come of it, like, they're still a top Couture's team. They have no problem with a 3-pointer here or there, but as long as their hands are on the ball and they're running over Scotsmen, they'll be happy then.
They'll be happy then.
Yes, is right. But try and prevent that. We'll do all measures to prevent that. Be that through contestables, that like in terms of box kicks as far as exits, I'm sure they'll do a bit of that, but I think you're right, they can't be afraid to keep the ball and spin the ball, move the ball, even in
they're
their
competent
own
at it. Like when they do it, they run nice little shapes. They have that screenplay in them. They also have good skip passes in them. Get mad in the wide channels and move that ball and be scary and make Montpellier have to go backwards and
make reads and
have to reverse behind the gain line every phase. They have to reverse back behind the gain line before they can move forward. It's massive. It's the kind of thing that tires teams like Montpellier out.
For sure, away from home, in a hostile Scottish place, in a hostile environment and climate. And it is getting cold this weekend as well. That's on the horizon for across Europe. But particularly Scotland, as is usually the case. They want to be warming their hands and making sure the Montpellier boys are making most of the hits.
Absolutely.
And I would love to see them do it, because I really do believe them to be a more polished, more tidy team, and harking back to our early point about process driven versus a slew of stars who are undoubtedly class rugby players. And whenever you read a team sheet from like a team like Montpellier, whenever you read it, like in the years gone, like in the 2 years previous when they've been coming to the RDS, the week of the game, there's a load of nerves for us that stir themselves, because you're just reading the team sheet and like thoroughly rating every player. But we've also seen all of those class players come to the RDS, and granted, no team usually wins in the RDS, as Toulouse found out.
Leinster do.
Well, apart from Leinster, obviously, but it's like they didn't even register good performances. They were there 2 years in a row, and it's like I think 1 or 2 tries is what they managed.
No, they played well in that opening game when they came to Dublin.
They did until the red card, and then they folded. Wasn't that the one?
No, that was the one with Nadolo playing really well, where he got a couple of tries and Henshaw tackled him. That was I'm not sure if there was a red card in that game, but it was
that was a good game actually. I'm thinking of one a few years hence. We've played them Montpellier a lot actually.
Yes,
we know them probably better than most things, but they've gone through various ones.
If they do go and pick an aggressive team, if Nadolo's in the side, if Serpentine's in the side, that has potential. Nadolo against Darcy Graham has potential.
For sure,
Nadolo against anybody.
Well, that's true. There's no slide on any winger to say that like it's a tough matchup the day you're lined up opposite Nadolo.
And to say Darcy Graham's a wee man, like he is a wee man, and Nadolo is not. So that is a matchup with a lot of. It's sort of like last year's Montpellier. If Nadolo's in the game, you got a chance. You got to give him the ball. But if he's not, I don't see it for Montpellier.
Well, a lot of their game plan in the last few years has just been give it to the big man. Hope he does some tries.
Profit in it. There's profit in it.
Either scores tries or makes tries, but he's
the underrated part of his game is his ability to knock around and build that in,
or his boot. His attacking boot is quality. The way that man drops it on the toe is a lovely sight. But it's not if you're in Edinburgh's shoes this week.
No, indeed.
So if you saw him even at 23 or not in the squad, then you'd rest easier knowing that Montpellier probably aren't coming here to win, because they are in a tenuous position in the top Couture's, which they may be rating as more likely route to success and a necessary one.
And a win would see them in the quarterfinals. But I'm sure their heads are where you're saying there. They're probably. I would suspect, especially based on the team they picked this week, that they're not in the mindset for going.
Just
a
bit ambivalent about Europe this year, while they're worried about the top Couture's and the embarrassments they're in. That are many and have been many, because their losing streak prior to this game was something formidable. And you were making a point, you haven't watched a lot of them this year, other than reading team sheets and going like, what the hell happened? Nadolo was playing. It was Leon.
Against Pow?
So they are a baffling team, but they are coming to Murrayfield, and Edinburgh need to deal with them. And that's the challenge this week. And if they want to be making a run to the as we were saying, semi-final or beyond, they're going to have to do it. Totally. So we will move on from that though now, because that's a lot of time spent talking about them.
A lot of good time. Time spent talking about Edinburgh. Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you want to subscribe. There should be a button up here. Don't forget to give us a like and share with your friends, and please leave comments down below. We love the conversation. Thanks.